Hello there, I'm Richard Tubb, and I'm joined today by Ben Jenkins, who is the Global Evangelist for Pia, an IT automation platform for MSPs. Ben, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm well, thanks. I'm well.
It's great to see you. Now, on this show, we often bring cutting-edge technology, things that I find really exciting for managed service providers. And having taken a quick look at this product, I think that's definitely going to fit into the category. But for people who aren't familiar with Pia, tell us all about it, what it is.
Yeah, cool. So Pia is a intelligent automation tool that essentially integrates in with your PSA, whether that be ConnectWise or Autotask. It's able to seamlessly read your tickets and then make recommendations out of a list of about 60 different automations that we have actually created for you. And then from there, from making that recommendation, your technician can literally just go, yep, that looks really good. Go ahead, do all of that work for me. And then Pia handles all of that heavy lift. What we're really trying to do is a term that I'll probably use a bit later is taking the tech out of tech support. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for tech support technicians or technical advisors to be able to provide top tier support, but not have to spend a huge amount of time on those annoying and time consuming processes that frankly don't often always show value to the end user. Things like password resets, new user creations, etc., which is actually what I'll show today.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more about Pia as a company. Like, where are you based? Which regions do you cover? That sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. So Pia as a company, really interesting story. It was actually founded by an MSP. So one of the largest MSPs over in the APAC region called VITG. They were essentially on an acquisition hire. They were just going after acquisition after acquisition after acquisition. And they realized they had a ton of techs there that they need to get trained on all the same solution and loads of customers. And they realized they wanted to go ahead and do some proper time savings. They wanted to ensure that they were utilizing their engineers to the best of their capabilities. And obviously, as most MSPs, if you speak to any MSPs, as I'm sure you do, they're instantly going to go automation. That's going to be the number one thing. AI, automation, it's all that kind of, it's the new exciting thing. And they were starting to look into it. They realized there weren't as many solutions out there as they were kind of hoping for, and they didn't necessarily do everything they wanted. So they thought, well, how hard could it be? Why don't we create it ourselves? So this was actually about 4 years ago in the end. So over the last 4-5 years probably now, actually, they were starting building out Pia as we know it today. Obviously, very different iterations over the years. But they hit a point and kind of went, wow, this is actually really, really cool. Like, this works really, really well. So they got some MSPs to actually go ahead and test it, and the MSPs really liked it. And then from there, they just kind of went, well, maybe we should be marketing this. Maybe this is actually a solution out there that can help other MSPs. So they went to a few different shows, DattoCon, KaseyaCon. I think they went to ConnectWise, IT Nation as well, won some awards. And then actually July last year, we officially launched Pia as an organization, as a product. And that brings us up to today. I think we're at close to 100,000 endpoints.
Wow.
Globally. So we've had some pretty rapid growth out there as well. We're on over 60 automations. We've got probably close to 30, 40 different integrations right now. So it's growing pretty rapidly at the minute.
I love that story. And there's so many great products that have come to the MSP market, especially over the past few years, haven't they? That have been built by an MSP, spun out of an MSP, and then gone to market, specifically because the MSPs build the tool that MSPs need. And then, of course, it's like, oh, we're going to share this with other people as well. So another in a great long line of those. We'll jump into the product momentarily, but I'm intrigued, Ben. I've known you for a little while. You've got a ton of experience in the MSP industry. What does a typical day look like for Ben Jenkins, Global Evangelist for Pia?
I'd say 50% of it is explaining what my job title means and what I do. That's always the fun one. A typical day, a lot of what I do is trying to ensure that our customers are happy, basically. Are we, as Pia, do we have their best interests at heart? So I do a lot of work with our customers, prospective customers, working on what is it they see in the solution at this minute in time, and what is it they would like to go ahead and see. And I work quite closely with our product team and our head of product to be able to essentially say, we need to implement this kind of thing because this is exactly what the customers want. Now, as you said, we're MSP owned, we're MSP created. that's obviously awesome because we know what the MSPs want and need. But as we grow, that is going to detach. We're not blind to that. Obviously, as we grow larger and larger, we are going to shift probably further away from our parent company, that MSP. So it's going to get a little bit more tricky, which is kind of partly as to why I jump in and help there in ensuring that our interests are always aligned with what MSPs want at that moment. So I spend a lot of time working with our customers there. I help out with calls like this, chatting to lovely people such as yourselves. I go to a lot of events, do public speaking at those in EMEA. Obviously, we have Tim, coach, over in America, who handles kind of the rest of the world over there as well. And then anywhere in between, helping out wherever I can, making sure people are happy.
Oh, wonderful. We'll have to get Tim on the show at some point. I met Tim last November, I think it was, in Orlando at IT Nation over there, and had a really good chat with him. What a lovely fella. So you're building a really good team there. The
man is incredible, and he has a story for every single occasion. Like, there is never a dull night with Tim, and he can sit there and you can say, oh, this, and he's like, I've got just the story for that. He's absolutely brilliant. So
I'm looking forward to spending more time with him. So I want to pick up on something just before we jump into the product. So you mentioned, that there's a whole lot of automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these types of automation tools that are coming down at the moment. Super, super popular. How would you differentiate Pia from those other tools that are coming through the stream at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I think it very much depends on tool by tool. And I mean, I don't like vendor bashing. I think vendor bashing is probably one of the worst things that any vendor can go ahead and do. There are competitors of ours that do some incredible pieces, and there are others where we do a little bit better. Every vendor does better in some places than others, and it's about obviously choosing the solution that fits you. I'd say one of the key differentiators, though, is probably understanding whether or not the solution you're using is AI, ML, NLP, or if it is robotic process automation. Yes. So there's some key differences here. RPA, or robotic process automation, is essentially just training a bot or a robot to be able to complete a process over and over and over again. You're not going to be looking at variables, realistically adding in maybe a few. So that's more of what I would say, or what I would call early AI. In such, it's not necessarily AI, but it's what we as human beings would relate to AI. If you saw it, you'd go, yeah, cool, okay, it can kind of do that. Where we differ is we use components of AI in our solution, whether that be NLP, whether it be ML, to be able to train our ticket reading. So we have kind of true components of AI built into the solution.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess without further ado, can you do a screen share for us? Let's jump into the product and see what it looks like. First question would be, I want you to show us around the whole platform here. But, most MSPs who are watching this typically are looking to do things faster or better or cheaper or preferably all of those sort of things. So can you give us some clear examples of where Pia can help an MSP service desk?
Yeah, sure. So, as you can probably already notice, I'm in ConnectWise here today. It's worth noting Pia works in both ConnectWise and Autotask PSA. It's essentially a little pod, as you can see over on the right-hand side, just over here, that has popped up. Now, what's actually happened here is Pia has gone ahead, it's actually read this ticket just here. So the summary of, we have a new starter starting on Monday. Their name is James Scott. It's for XYZ company. And then, by the way, this is the initial description. Now, I've just copied and pasted it. But nice and easy. Pia's gone ahead and actually read that, and it's made a educated decision based around that, using that ML, that training that we put into it, and we're continually training it and pumping tickets into our ML system to ensure that the recognition from here with keywords, whatever it's asking for, etc., goes ahead and recommends the correct automation. Now you'll see over in our Pia pod, we had a recommendation here for, look, I think you're trying to do a new user. Is that correct? I'm a realist. Especially when it comes to tech. Let's all be realistic here. AI, super cool. ML, really cool. Yeah, love it. It's probably not to the point where Skynet's taking over yet. I think we can all be very honest there. And it is going to make mistakes. The same way that tech makes mistakes day in, day out. It's going to happen. So because of that, we realized quite early on that we didn't want to just kind of trap people into using just new user or just whatever was recommended, sorry. So we actually allow you to go ahead, click on there, and we'll give you a full list of every single automation that you can actually go ahead and run through here and choose that. We don't want to limit people, basically.
So it's not what the machine says goes. It's got it, it gives you options there.
Exactly. Because the problem we're going to have, and, human beings are wonderful things, but we really confuse matters. Just all the time, we will confuse matters because there is always going to be a way that someone can phrase something that is going to just trick up the AI, the ML, the whatever. It's going to get stuck. And because of that, we may not be able to make a recommendation. We may make the wrong recommendation. We want to give you the option to be able to have the correct automation there as well.
Have you got a quick question? Have you got any sort of statistics over what the level of accuracy is at this point?
Yeah, sure. So I believe the last stat I heard was we were about 95% accurate. So we are pretty accurate. We do a hell of a lot of training of this. So Terry Irons, our CIO, I believe. Terry, please don't hate me if I just got your title wrong. Terry spends a hell of a lot of time with his team actually going ahead and training the Pia solution and that ML that we use with some test tickets that we've got. We actually pull real MSP tickets from our parent company, and we actually go ahead and utilize those as a proper training method. We're not creating fake tickets and then training off of that. We want to use real data and things
real world stuff. Yeah. And I'm going to presume the training element as well. So let's just say that Pia takes a guess at this, isn't correct, on the one occasion. And so the MSP engineer clicks in, goes to the other suggestions and says, yeah, it's that one. I'm presuming that in the background, Pia goes, okay, I'm going to remember that for next time, or I'm going to improve things.
Pia's a constantly learning tool.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be getting better and better and better. And then obviously, and something I'm happy talking about a bit later is kind of the future of Pia and where we're aiming to go.
Yeah, please.
Because I think that's also very, very interesting for MSPs. Like it's awesome seeing what the tool can do now, but often an MSP isn't looking at a tool for now. They're looking at a tool for a year, 2 years down the line. Yes. Where is it you're heading? What is it you're working on? And that's really, really cool from our standpoint.
Yeah. And I guess before we get too much further into it, just on the right-hand side, I can see an activity log. And as we were talking, it was ticking things off on that. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
So this activity log over on the right-hand side is really, really cool. It lists out everything that's happening based on this automation that's been in time. So one of the first things I actually asked when I joined Pia, I was having a call with our CTO. Right? Actually, before I even joined, I said I want to see a demo of the solution. Because for me, if I join a company, I need to make sure I like the solution, I believe in it, it's good, that kind of thing. And I said, can I see it? Aaron was absolutely wonderful. He said, yep, of course, let's jump on a call. So he did a demo, and my initial fear was, how do I trust it's doing what I've asked it to do? Right. So I was always told when I was a technician on a service desk, don't download random scripts from the internet and execute them. Really bad idea. Sounds simple now we say it, but of course, like it's just when you're first learning out, you're like, this guy's done it already. I can download it and run it. Life's easy. It's not that yet. So my initial fear was, how do I trust it? And the answer very easily is this activity log. You can go through here and you can see every single thing that is actually happening inside of this automation. Now, if I just go ahead and click into each of these, you can see this is essentially PowerShell output because all of our automations are on PowerShell on the back end. So you get a kind of step-by-step here. What is happening inside this automation? If it breaks at some point, you get a red cross. You can jump into there, see why it's broken.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just before we move on as well, just to clarify, about the integration side of things. So I can see we've got Azure in there. We talked about the PSA tools that are connected. So at the moment, your ConnectWise Autotask. Anything else that I'm missing out on there?
Oh, yeah, there's a whole host of integrations. If you go to PIA.ai, all of the integrations are going to be in there. But I think we recently released a Sophos one. We have a Mimecast one. We have one for ThreatLocker.
Wow.
We've got we're continually adding in integration after integration after integration at this point in time. We want to make sure that we have all of that created so that MSPs can truly use this, not just for the Microsoft stuff, but for everything else. Now,
and of course, we've got M365, Office 365, as well as Azure in there. But in terms of the PSA tools, we're looking at ConnectWise Autotask. Any plans to add any other sort of PSA platforms?
Yes. So we're working on Halo at this minute in time. That should be out pretty soon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Fingers crossed.
Cool.
And then I know Kaseya is on our roadmap. That's pretty much as far as I don't like to make fake promises, but I know Kaseya is on our roadmap and it's something that we're looking at as well.
Excellent. So back to the ticket. So Pia's made a guess. He wants to create a new, I think you need to create a new user. Where do we go from here?
So I went ahead, I clicked on the new user. It's just pulled out a bit of information for me regarding how many licenses we have available. So I, as a technician, just go ahead, select that license and go ahead and then click on continue. Now, the great thing with Pia is I can actually go ahead in the background. I can set, you can see it actually says here, no default required licenses set up. I can go ahead and set default licenses so we can now just bypass this step, should I want to. So what we're trying to do is, I would argue what we do is engineer-led automation. And we're trying with each step to remove as much of the engineer as possible if it's feasible and if it works. Obviously, we don't want to remove engineers from everything because that's just not going to work. It's going to cause problems.
Yeah.
But if we can remove this step, that's one less step they've got to do, makes it a hell of a lot easier. So from completing that, I get a lovely, lovely new form that's just popped up. I jump into that form. I'm going to fill out the name. So this person today is going to be called James Scott. And from James Scott, we're going to go down. We've got our UPN suffix here, which is all pre-selected for us. We can add in offices, street, address, city, state, all that kind of stuff. Now, where this gets really cool is then the security and access levels. So I can go ahead and set access levels. I can go ahead and set custom pieces, which we'll actually see a little bit later. Okay. Or I can copy from an existing user. Now, this is actually what I like to go ahead and do. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy from Jane Smithing today. Now, over from there, it's as simple as I, as the technician, having just filled all of that out, go ahead and click on the submit. Now, what's going to happen here is you're going to see this success number up here is going to start rapidly going up because we've now got a ton of work that's happening in that background. A couple of things. Well, number one, as we've already spoken, that activity log is ticking through at this point in time. So I can, if I just scroll down properly, I can see it's ticking through each of these individual sections and completing that for me. And it's doing two other things. So the first of which is it actually needs to find out Jane Smithing's account details. So it needs to go ahead and find out what groups does Jane belong to, what disty lists, shared mailboxes, etc. What is it that Jane actually, what is Jane's account like? Because remember, we're copying all the information from there, copying the information is the wrong term. We're copying the setup.
Yes.
So that it's mirrored to our new user. And then the second thing is it actually needs to find out everything else that belongs with the domain as well. So it's going to go ahead and find out all of the groups, all of those disty share mailboxes, etc. It wants to find all of that information so that it can provide it to me as a technician and I can make an educated decision. Now, there is a brilliant thing also that's worth noting here. My technician hasn't had to do anything really right now. They filled out a small form and that's it. That form will actually be going away fairly soon. We have a new feature called Smart Forms going out.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to see, like, if you raise a ticket for an individual, is it going to pull most of those details in and say, oh, there's my best guess at it?
Exactly, yeah. So there's going to be a smart form that a customer can fill out, and it will go ahead and automatically enter in that information for you, which is going to be really, really cool. So that whole section is going to be gone, which is awesome. Again, I think it's worth noting, we're continually looking at our solution and adapting it to ensure that it is best needs of the partner. So we've done that with either editing existing automations, adding new things in, creating new ones based on customer feedback, etc., and even smart forms and new features. So Pia's going ahead. It's doing all of that kind of heavy lift for me here. We'll just scroll down. We can see where it's at this minute in time. Where are you? There you are. So it's just coming up to finishing up here.
So I guess, having worked on a help desk myself, done service desk work in the past, this is the sort of thing where, somebody's accessing a ticket, dealing with it, waiting for stuff to happen in the background. And at this point, they can be often doing something else at the same time while they wait for it to go through. And of course, we know if you view this video in a couple of years, 3 years time, this whole process is going to go faster and faster and faster to the point where at some point in the future, Ben, we're going to click the button and it's going to go and just have everything done. And
let's touch on that. Well, I want to touch on that a bit later.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, you've hit it 100% there. What we're allowing technicians to be able to do now with the solution is essentially go ahead and get started on a ticket. Pia starts on that heavy lift, and then they can get started on the next ticket at the same time. So Terry, who I spoke about earlier, does a brilliant demonstration of the product called 6 Tickets in 12 Minutes. where
Right.
he will have 6 different tickets going on at the same time, and he is jumping from ticket to ticket to ticket to ticket, and solving all of them within 12 minutes.
Yeah,
Because
that makes a lot of sense.
Pia's doing that heavy lift on the background. All that engineer really needs to do is just check on the ticket. Where are we? Okay, cool. Move to the next step. So we can see here my new user confirmation has come back. And this is essentially just a form to say, hey, are you happy to move ahead from here?
Yeah.
Is this something that you want to now go ahead with? Are you happy with kind of the setup that we've provided? So I'm going to go through here. Yep, more than happy with all of this. I've got some groups here that I can go ahead and align access to, whether it be I want to give full mail-enabled security access, etc. Disty lists, want to go ahead and add a couple of disties, you can go ahead and obviously set that up here as well. So we have full integration in with O365, all on-site exchange. And then obviously share mailboxes here as well. We can add all of them, some of them, none of them, as many as you'd like. Also worth noting, if some MSPs, and I've spoken to a few, do use the AD attributes, we have that set up here as well. Should you want to use it, it's very much a yes, we use it, no, we don't use it. So it hits some, doesn't hit others, but you know.
Yeah, but bottom line, Pia has done most of the heavy lifting there, giving you the options to tweak things, but it's ready to go.
Exactly. So all of the groups that were pre-assigned, and obviously I apologize, guys, it was quite bare. Demo environments always are, sadly. Yeah. But there were a few things that were already pre-assigned over there. That's what was in Jane's account at the time. And then obviously from there, we've gone ahead and we can add or remove extra groups from there. And that's kind of the custom piece I spoke about earlier. So we make it as easy as possible. Now, from there, the final thing is obviously password. We haven't actually set up a password yet for this account, which is weird because it's normally the first thing that most people actually kind of go ahead and do when they create a new user. So Pia has popped up based on some criteria that's actually inside of my Pia solution. It's gone ahead and said, hey, you need to go ahead and set a password. So based on the criteria of X amount of passwords, etc. Characters,
yes,
capitals, all that kind of thing. Here is your password suggestion. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and change password next logon because no one wants that as a password. And then down from there, I view this as a really nice kind of quality of life feature. We can send an SMS to the user with their new password.
Very cool.
So gone are the days of having to go through a ticket and then the end user doesn't, or maybe it's that the manager from the end user gets it and they've lost that email and then they're calling in on the Monday morning. Everyone's panicking. Why can't we log into the account? Blah, blah, blah. You can just go ahead and send a text message with the password to any mobile number that you'd actually go ahead and like. So it's very, very simple here. Now, I view this as just a great quality of life piece. This is just a great way to be able to go ahead and really kind of add that little extra touch from you guys as an MSP. So really nice. Finally from there.
Ben, just before we move ahead there, I was going to say, what about some people who say, oh, SMS is an insecure method? Is there any plans to say, and this is all argumentative, but WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, any of those sort of platforms, is that anything you would consider adding in the future?
100%. If there's interest out there that people have got in these solutions, please get in touch with me. Shameless plug, LinkedIn, whatever, all that kind of thing, email. We can give all that information out later.
We'll include that in the show notes.
Wonderful. By all means, please. I love to hear this customer feedback. It's something that I really want us to be able to take this feedback and be able to shape where we're going as a product. I know, for example, we're looking at strengthening this by adding in options such as one-time click passwords, that kind of thing, or one-click links, that kind of stuff. So we're shifting towards that. And there is also the option of you don't have to use it as well if you don't want to. We want to be able to give people the opportunity to have these things. And if they don't want to use them, they don't have to.
Yeah, but let's try and move people away from writing these things down on a Post-it note and handing it around the office. That's probably not
exactly. Yes, and obviously, one thing we've got built into the solution as well is that it's something called extension automations, where we can essentially bolt extra things onto the end of our automations. So if you're particularly adept in, say, PowerShell, or ChatGPT is pretty good at PowerShell nowadays, so you can ask that to do it, I would expect. You could go ahead and use one of our integrations with Teams and send the password over to Teams if you wanted, horrifically unsecure, but realistically, you can go ahead and do that kind of thing as well. So there's a whole host of different things that we can do with the solution here. Realistically, you're limited by what it is that you as a user can, or you as a technician, creator, manager, whatever, can think of there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wonderful. So Pia is now in the background going ahead and actually creating this user, which is awesome. Now, the great thing here, we've alluded to it earlier, as a technician, I can now go ahead, jump over to my next ticket, which is a password reset. So if I go ahead and open up my next ticket, give it a second, come on, ConnectWise. And then over on the right-hand side, we will see we've got our Pia pod, it pops up.
Yep.
And from there, it should hopefully, and this is where I can test that 95%. Yes, wonderful. Go ahead and say, hey, looks like you want to go ahead and do a reset password.
Very cool.
So that's it right there. It's saying, look, you want to go ahead and do a password reset. Well, the first thing it needs to do is it actually needs to find what users exist. It's worth noting, we don't really cache any information inside of Pia for a couple of reasons. Number one, security. The more we're caching, the higher likelihood of an attack on the solution from there.
Yeah.
The second thing is actually having the most up-to-date information out there. We want to ensure that we have the most up-to-date information. If we're caching things, there's a strong likelihood things could have actually changed since the last time we cached it. Yeah. So what we're going to actually do is anytime we have these kind of interactions here, it's called out to find the most up-to-date list of users. It's then provided me that list rather than saying, hey, 6 hours ago it was this. Because I could have done two new users for this company by then. Now I've gone ahead and selected Herb. I'm going to go ahead, click on the change password. We've all seen this just from literally 1 minute ago. I go ahead and click on go. And from here, Pia is now doing that heavy lift for me. Now, if we start looking at kind of how long it often takes people to do these tickets and these password resets and new users, so I think we're looking at, on average, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 15 to be able to do a new user creation. Yeah, bar us sat here having a jolly good chat, we can generally get a new user created in about 12 to 15 minutes.
That's crazy, yeah.
Password resets, you're looking at 5 to 7 minutes, depending on customer, depending on depending on customer, depending on setup, all of that kind of thing. I've done one in a minute. The quickest I've actually ever done a password reset is 53 seconds here inside of the solution.
Yeah, and so, I guess just for my own clarity here, Ben, so we can see here the pod Pia has taken the information that it's passed from the initial description in the ticket on the left-hand side within ConnectWise or within Autotask. Question there, though, so perhaps the ticket has come through via email, it's come through the client portal. What if a ticket comes through via telephone and an engineer is actually typing away? Does Pia still integrate in those situations?
Brilliant question. Yeah. So essentially what will happen is as soon as you open up a brand new ticket, go ahead, enter in the summary, enter in a little initial description. You go ahead, you raise that ticket. From raising that ticket, Pia's going to be there. It's going to read whatever. So it doesn't matter how the ticket is raised in any shape or form. So long as the ticket is raised, Pia will then get active. I was actually visiting a customer last week regarding this. So we're talking about password resets, etc., and kind of aligning processes and ensuring they have the right processes to ensure they're using Pia correctly.
Right.
And I think that's something that's worth noting. You know, I'm here saying I can do a new user in 12 to 15 minutes. I can go ahead and do a password reset in 1 minute. It's not lost on me that people are not going to be doing that. You know, you have your own processes, you have your own security checks, etc. But what we can do is we can dramatically minimize the time that technicians, after you've gone and done those checks for security, because security is always key. Okay. After you've done those checks, we can minimize the amount of time that it takes for a technician to be able to go ahead and do that work. But I think something that's key as well is we're also allowing the technician to never have to leave the PSA.
I was just about to say there's got to be a big piece here without getting too far ahead in our conversation around the consistency. I know I'm a big checklist-driven guy, and I always taught my MSP team do things checklist-based, not because you don't know what you're doing or we don't trust you, but it's like you can get distracted. There's other things going on. Make sure you get the consistency. It occurs to me that Pia is going to bring about a much higher level of consistency than perhaps just human beings alone would do.
100%. I mean, you know, let's be realistic. Yeah, we all have a heavy night. Maybe we went out for a pint and it became 7, or you've got a newborn kid, or I don't know, you've got a puppy and the puppy's keeping you up all night. It's an issue my parents have actually got in a minute. They recently got a dog and it's waking them up 3 times a night to go out to the toilet. I mean, at least it's waking them up, so that's a good sign. But we all have these things that happen in our lives which we can't always control, which do affect us at work. We can be tired, maybe not in the best state of mind, and then we do make mistakes. Having the standardization across the board with these procedures that Pia has already created, again, from an MSP mindset as well, is, I'd say, invaluable. I was talking to my dad. He runs an engineering firm. They make mold tools. So plastic cups.
Yes.
The metal, huge block of metal you inject the molten plastic into, he mills that out and makes those kind of things. It's really cool. He has some super cool machines. I was talking to him about because bless him, he's not the most technically advanced man. He does his best. No, he does a really good job, actually. But he always likes to try and understand what is it that the company I work at does. And he's saying, okay, so what is it Pia does? I took him through and he went, okay, what you've just said is all brilliant. But the main thing that aligns with me is exactly as you said. It's the repeatability, essentially. Yeah, the consistency. It's when he goes out looking for a new machine, he isn't looking at it can do it in X speed. It can do it 10 times over with the same results every single time.
Yeah.
Your customers, Mr. MSP, are going to know exactly what they're going to be getting every single time. It's not going to differ from technician James to technician Helen. Yeah. There's going to be the same procedure over and over and over again. It's going to lead to a much better customer satisfaction from there.
Very cool. I like it. So we've got to the stage where the password has been reset.
So from here,
it's just about to be reset. Yeah.
My technician just needs to go ahead and take the password, enter in technician notes into the ticket, and then ping that off. And obviously you would have already sent, I would assume, the password over SMS or phone call if you're there with them as well. So this is it. Pia has gone ahead and actually solved the problem. And in the meantime, we can jump over to our previous ticket and we can see that Pia has also gone ahead and created our brand new user.
Fantastic. So we've got two things on the go at the same time. Yeah. And we can absolutely see the benefit of an engineer sitting there and while he's waiting for one thing to go and pick off some other tickets there, get them done. Or even that horrible situation as an engineer, you think, I'm not going to start on that ticket because I don't want to get halfway through that and have to go back and finish that one off. No worries here. They're all going to keep everything ticking along nicely. So you're going to get a lot more stuff done. I like it a lot.
Exactly. I mean, and there's a couple of things, if you don't mind, I just wanted to quickly show in the back
of course,
of the solution here. Number one, the client setup, super easy, super simple. We have a brand new portal. It looks really, really swish. I'm a huge fan of it. But I can jump down through my lovely little portal here into my Pia demo environment. In here, I can go ahead and set up how I can integrate, for example. So my Microsoft Graph API, which is how we push all the 365 stuff, Azure AD, if you've got that set up, etc. All comes from here. Client tags essentially say these automations are allowed to run against this customer. Now, this is really interesting because let's say, for example, you have a customer, taking a step back, we work with both Azure, we work with on-prem, we work with O365, we work with on-prem AD, on-prem Exchange, all of that kind of stuff. So you're going to have different automations that do different things for each of those. You don't want to have an Azure automation trying to run, Mr. Technician, if everything is on-prem, because it's just not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. So we can actually go ahead and limit that here with these client tags, only giving you the automations that you really need to be able to work. And then from a global config perspective, it's really, really cool. We can go ahead and preset a ton of the information that all of these automations will use. So you're not going through one by one, setting up each automation separately.
Right.
Fill out the global config, we'll have all of that set up for you. And we've actually now gone ahead and I don't know if I'm supposed to announce it. We'll announce it anyway. We've actually found a way to now be able to automate all of this as well. So when you go ahead and onboard with us, we actually enter in a ton of this info for you. We then just say to you, hello, Mr. MSP, can you just verify this for us? So, you know, the automation company is using automation. Who'd have thought it, right?
Very cool.
A couple more things just to touch on really quickly. Inside of here, this is a Pia Canvas. Give it a second to load. This is essentially a great place to be able to come to enable non-technical people to be able to provide technical support.
Oh, so, interesting.
A few MSPs that we've been speaking to are like, okay, your solution's really, really cool, but it's kind of doing what my dispatcher does already to a certain extent, because as a side piece of what Pia can do.
And I want to have a whole conversation about the dispatcher piece if we can, but yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So Pia does dispatching as well. We'll save that for later. That other conversation for a minute. But you can now utilize your dispatcher as kind of I argue, a level 0 technician, or maybe an apprentice. Yeah, I can say this as an ex-apprentice in IT myself. Sometimes we feel much more confident in knowing what we're doing than we actually are.
Yeah.
And that's when mistakes happen. That's when bad things can go wrong.
Agreed.
So if you're using Pia, we can limit that as much as possible. So you can now have people, instead of working directly in that PSA, logging into the Pia solution, go ahead, click clock in, and they can now start working on any tickets. You can see any tickets that have been tagged with Pia.
Yes.
They can go ahead, they can click on this pending action, get started here with them. If it's processing, they ping it into Pia processing over on the top left. If it's waiting for the customer, goes to the waiting for the customer section. And while they're doing all of that, they can jump into the next ticket now. We're creating this kind of revolving door effect of closing of tickets.
Yeah.
Because
the bottom line is the clients get their tickets dealt with a lot faster, don't they? So
100%. Yeah, because what we're doing here as well is if we can remove the easy and time-consuming tickets from the ticket queues and give them to X party to be able to handle, we've now got essentially the harder tickets being dealt with by the more competent techs, so they can spend their time focusing on it effectively and getting better ticket resolutions right there and then, because they're not having to go through and create a brand new user or do that annoying password reset or add a printer or troubleshoot Teams.
Exactly. Well, let's jump into the dispatcher role just while we're on the conversation. So I'm a huge fan of dispatchers within the MSP environment. For anybody watching not familiar with dispatchers, you've probably experienced the situation where you've got a service desk team, a ticket comes in, and if the engineers are left to choose their own tickets, which ones do you think they're going to choose? They're not going to choose things that are boring. They're not going to choose things that they don't think they know about. In essence, they cherry pick. It's human nature. What a dispatcher does is say, actually, Ben, you're free at the moment, or you've got experience, you're going to look after this, or Dave or Richard, I know you don't want to do this ticket, but you need to do this ticket because we're looking after the client first and foremost. I think it's a great system. It works really well. But did I see a triage entry on the portal there? Can we jump into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so essentially, this is a nice little link to our Pia Learn article. So Pia Learn is our I need to log in.
Log in, yeah, security.
Let's go ahead and log in. There we are. Right, so yes, so Pia Learn, if I just jump into my Learn More here, we have Pia Learn is a kind of our knowledge-based KB kind of learning academy, kind of all-in-one portal. And in here is actually where you can go ahead and set up Pia Triage. Now, it's worth just really touching on what Triage is. It works directly with our ConnectWise customers. We're building out at this minute in time for AutoTask customers as well. And what it will do is it will read your incoming tickets. And then from reading your incoming tickets, it will essentially tag them. And from that tag, you can go ahead and set certain boards or users or level 1 technicians can take this ticket, and it will ultimately route that ticket over to these specific technicians. So what you're now not having is, exactly as you said, technicians going ahead, cherry picking the easiest tickets, the simplest tickets, the more fun tickets, and leaving those boring, annoying, time-consuming tickets sat there and then breaking SLAs. Pia, built into actually solving your tickets quicker, is going to be routing your tickets through as well and ensuring they're fairly divided up between the team.
Yeah, so makes a lot of sense. Going back to the point about when you can route, let's just say high urgency but low value tickets, such as password resets and things like that. My background was corporate IT, and we actually, when I was working at teams like Ernst & Young in the NHS, we actually had what they called IT administrators who perhaps weren't technicians, but did things such as password resets and stuff of that nature. Again, I think that's a brilliant opportunity with Pia here to say, for the dispatcher or perhaps other members of the team, look, you're not an engineer, but we do need these, high urgency, but perhaps low value tickets processing quickly, effectively, consistently. So I love the ability to almost to create the IT administrator role within a business.
Exactly. I think what we're really trying to do is with Pia, make it as easy as possible for MSPs to still continue doing their day job, providing this excellent support to users, but just trying to take away a lot of the hassle that really, really came with it. And I think, going on to your IT administrator piece that you guys had, that's what we're trying to do here with the level 0 technicians with Pia Canvas, as I said a moment ago, with the level, maybe lower level ones, maybe they've just started. And you want to see that kind of immediate impact of what they can do to the organization. That's really where Pia can jump in and help here.
Yeah. So let's recap. We've looked at some of the the automation that Pia brings here to make things go faster and better. We've looked at the consistency it can bring. We've looked at triage, dispatcher. We've looked at IT administrator or level 0 techs. I guess another something that springs to mind is, from my experience of running an MSP, is there can sometimes be duplication of effort in between different engineers, perhaps working on the same ticket, or they're doing the same sort of work in the background for a client and it overlaps. Does that make sense, Ben? Have you come across that before? And if so, what can Pia do to help us with that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be that duplication piece. Now, built in with Pia, you're going to be able to see as soon as you get onto the ticket where Pia actually is with the solution. So one of the huge issues, and this is coming from me as working on a support desk for, like 6-7 years. We all have the technicians that will essentially get started on a ticket. They don't note anything until they finish the ticket. And even then, let's be realistic, the notes aren't notes. They're a ticket has been solved. That is it. Pia, built into the ticket, as soon as someone jumps into that ticket, you're going to be able to see where Pia is, what is actually happening with Pia. And then we can go ahead and add those internal notes in here, essentially saying, hey, I'm working on this ticket. This isn't something that you need to be going ahead and working on. And obviously, again, using that routing option, we're able to go ahead and ensure that you haven't got multiple technicians working on one ticket at any given time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Excellent.
Now, the final thing that I really wanted to show, obviously, is there's a whole host of things inside of here. Software, we do software deployment as well, which is quite cool.
Okay.
You can create your own packages and automations. Actually, I say the final thing. I said 2 a moment ago. I said this was the final. We're going to save it for
this is all good, Ben. I know, because people watching this video, like me, are looking at the list of items down the left and going, tell me more about that.
There's a hell of a lot of items in here, but I really like to touch on this as well, which is our activity editor. Now, inside of here, essentially, this is how you can create your own automations. So we have a full training course on how to go ahead and create your own stuff, because we have 60, but let's be realistic. We're not going to have everything that you guys want to automate. There are going to be times when an MSP is going to sit down and say, hey, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and may not be something that we've created now or won't be creating in the next couple of months. So you want it now? Go ahead and create it yourselves. The back end of all of our stuff is PowerShell. So if you can create PowerShell, you're perfectly fine. As I alluded to earlier, if you can't, it's not a problem. Log into ChatGPT, say, hey, can you create me a PowerShell script for X, Y, and Z? It does it, and it does it very, very well. So you're going to be absolutely fine there. Once you've gone ahead and created that, if you want variables and things in there through forms, you essentially want to go ahead and create this form, which is drag and drop, and adding your variables, nice and easy, really simple. And then from there, it's as simple as essentially smushing them together using our package editor here. Now, this one looks a little bit complex, but the more you look at it, the easier it actually becomes. So we use YAML as our front end. YAML is essentially a human-readable coding language. It means that simpletons like myself can go ahead and read code without feeling like I need a PhD. So all of that can go ahead and be read here. And obviously, we can provide training on all of this should MSPs want to be able to go ahead and do that. And we have done it time and time again. And we now have MSPs who are obviously pushing further and further to be able to create their own automations. Now, the last piece I really wanted to touch on is this adoption report. And I adore this adoption report. This is essentially as an MSP, your single pane of glass, which everyone loves that term, to be able to come and see, am I getting the value of this solution?
Right.
Am I actually using Pia to its benefits? I mean, we can all sit here and say, hey, we're going to save you X amount of ticket time. I think we do 8 times ticket resolution speed, 400 to 500% workload adoption. I can shout numbers and statistics, but realistically, you want to see, am I getting the value? Yes or no? Is this worth the money I'm putting in and the tech time that I am now saving? And that we are that confident that we want to give you those metrics right here inside of our adoption report or adoption focus. So what we're going to do is we actually note down how many tickets have come in, how many tickets Pia was able to solve and was used on, how many tickets Pia was able to solve and was not used on, and how many tickets Pia would obviously not have been able to solve.
Right.
But what you can now do is you can now go ahead and sit down with your technical desk, and you can say, hey guys, brilliant. We have used Pia on 90% of Pia's solvable tickets. Love it. Pat yourselves on the back. Well done. You've done really, really well. Why not the other 10%? Kind of what's going on here? Why have we not gone ahead and used it here? Has there been a problem? Is there an issue with Pia? Do we not like the process? Are there certain automations that we have done better as an MSP? I've been speaking to some MSPs, and there are certain automations of ours that they don't use because they may have other solutions in place that suit their needs better. It's never no solution is ever a one size fits all, and there are always going to be parts that you want to use and don't want to use. So is it that, well, frankly, we have better ways of doing it, or is it we're not a huge fan? You can get this immediate, easy feedback on how is the solution being used just from having this really, really simple report. So yeah, huge fan of this. I can jump into the out of scope, which is essentially not in use, and I can go down from here. I can see, obviously I do apologize, demo environment again, but active staff, I'd be able to see my kind of top staff that are actually going ahead and utilizing this. You can see how many tickets they've gone ahead and solved over under the Pia champions, that kind of thing. So we want to make it as easy as possible for MSPs to be able to get quick, easy, clear information, which is why it's this kind of lovely, very, very quick output here for MSPs to be able to use.
I love this screen here, Ben, and I think, and again, this is not a knock on anybody, but there is a tendency with some engineers in some MSPs to do things the way they've always done things. So I can see there being a resistance to some degree of automation. Oh, when it's quicker, I'll just do it myself rather than learn this new system. I think this is a really good dashboard for business owners, service desk managers to look and say, who is actually utilizing this better way of doing things, faster way of doing things, and who's just stuck in their ways and needs a nudge. So that's another way of looking at it.
100%. I've been talking a bit more about this recently after speaking with some customers, as that exact thing that you've mentioned there is the feedback I've had of, I speak to technicians, and when I go to a customer office, I sit down and I go, look, guys, yeah, I work for Pia, but at the end of the day, I want to ensure that you guys as an MSP are using the solution that's going to be best for you. I'd love if everyone bought Pia, but if it's not going to suit you guys as an MSP, you shouldn't buy it at the end of the day. So I'd sit there and go, so take away, I know I've rocked in, and I normally rock in a Pia t-shirt because I love company branded swag. I say, look, I know I've walked in my Pia t-shirt, but ignore that. Talk to me as a technician. Where are your problems? What are you having? And some of the feedback I have had is it's often easier for me as a technician, not in terms of time saving, not in terms of really anything else apart from I'm stuck in my ways. And for me as a technician, it's great for me to now just go down that route. And a lot of it is then an education piece. So we'll work with them to be able to ensure that re-education is used there to make sure that you are utilizing the solution, because it's clear. You can see the benefits of it. They can see the benefits of it, these technicians. But it's just very much, rather than doing that kind of instant gut reaction that we all have, pick up the phone, try and solve it on the phone without raising a ticket, which is obviously, as we know, a huge problem with technicians in general. Technicians can often go down that route.
Yes.
It's about building the correct process in place to make sure that we are logging tickets effectively and then solving them straight through the ticketing system using Pia. So there is an education aspect to it as well.
Agreed. So let me ask you a question on the whole prospect of return on investment. So you invest in a product like a Pia, and we'll talk about licensing and things very, very shortly. But I'm intrigued. We've talked a lot about automation. We've talked a lot about reducing the cost of support for clients here. But I'm a big believer, Ben, that IT support is about reactivity. Managed services is about proactivity. So all of this time that's going to be freed up at this point, in your experience, what have MSPs been then utilizing their engineers to go out? Could it be billable work? Could it be more proactive experiences? What are people doing with the time that's been freed up by Pia?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. Realistically, what we've seen is that it's giving MSPs more time to be able to focus on their customers. It's giving them more time to be able to sit there and go, how can we make sure that we are providing the best service to our customers that we possibly can, whether that be infrastructure upgrades, project work, etc., billable, etc. Yes, definitely. It is the route that people are looking, because if we're freeing up this amount of time, we can now go ahead, obviously, and you can push that in elsewhere. Another key one I've seen: upskilling of actually employees.
Right. Yeah, big one.
We've just freed up a ton of time. And the argument I often hear, and it's a fair argument, is okay, if Pia's handling this work, my technicians are not doing it anymore. Now, I'm a firm believer of there's nothing wrong with running through these things manually still every once in a while. A technician going ahead and doing a password reset themselves
to understand what's going on behind the scenes,
just to understand, and so that they're keeping that up. We're not trying to replace, though, the most technical of setups. We're trying to take away the mundane and annoying. So I think there's a fine line between do the odd one every month or so, every 2 months, so you've still got that kind of muscle memory as such. But we're often allowing, because of these ticket adoptions, because we're absorbing the tickets as much as we're freeing up a hell of a lot of time that these technicians can now go ahead, they can focus on their own training, become essentially, I can never find a better way of phrasing it, so I do apologize, I'm going to probably offend some people, more useful members of the team. I don't mean it in that way, but obviously a higher trained members of the team, and it's only going to help themselves down the line in their career, as well as the MSP themselves as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you some tougher questions. So we've had a look at the product. There is a lot of AI, machine learning, and all sorts of these tools flooding into the market at the moment. There are big concerns around security. So talk to us a little bit about the security. How much of a focus is security for Pia? What have you done to keep MSPs data safe and their clients' data safe?
Great question. So security is a huge concern in the MSP community. I think both from MSPs and from vendors. We keep seeing these supply chain attacks where vendors are being hit, and it's something that we really took into kept in our mind when we first started working on Pia, because we want to ensure that we're trying to minimize the impact if that ever does happen. Because I think any vendor that says this will never happen is yep. So
can't say never.
Don't ever say never. I think that's a bad idea. But we want to ensure that we have the security in place to be able to minimize that attack and any damage that could happen. So a key focus on us was ensuring we have these pieces in place. So we are fully GDPR compliant. We have SOC 2 certification now. We're ISO 27001. All of our information, whether this be API keys, etc., stored encrypted. So we have a huge focus on ensuring that we are fully secure from that perspective.
Got it. I guess the other tougher question would be, okay, this all looks great, but if we do need any technical support,
yes,
especially for those of us in the UK looking at things and saying, okay, you're based the other side of the world on a different time zone, what does technical support look like for the team? And obviously you're based in the UK as well, Ben, but I should say founded elsewhere.
Yeah, no. So we're obviously founded in Oz, so we have a large technical support desk over there. I believe we have a couple of people in America as well. And then obviously we have people over in the UK that we can reach out to as well. So both myself, we've got Tom McCaffrey, who is one of our brilliant onboarding engineers, who's always happy to be able to help out with support. Essentially, we want to ensure that we are helping the customer or the partner in any way, shape, or form. So if that means that we jump on a call at 10 o'clock at night, we'll go ahead and do that. So long as we're solving these problems, that is what we want to be able to do.
Understood. Let me ask about the licensing as well. How is Pia licensed to MSPs? I'm not talking about, pounds and pence specifically. Yeah. I know people can come to you directly to talk about commercials, but how is the product licensed?
Great question. Per endpoint, essentially. So let's say you have 2,000 endpoints. It's going to be 2,000 endpoints. Now, realistically, what we tend to see is that MSPs who are utilizing Pia probably want to go ahead or we recommend using it on as much of your fleet as possible, because that's where you're going to see those returns. Now, if not, if you want to test it on the more troublesome customers. There you go. That's a nice term for that one. Test it on some of the more troublesome customers, the higher ticket influx customers.
Yeah.
For that kind of initial testing period, so you can see if you've got that ROI piece. And I know we spoke about ROI earlier. I just wanted to quickly mention we have also got our ROI calculator. So if I just quickly bring that up, we'll all be able to see that very quickly.
There we go. See the Pia website now.
Yeah, Pia.ai is the website. If you just jump into ROI calculator in here, you can go ahead, you can enter in your number of tickets, sliding scale, all that kind of thing. this is how much we can save, or you can actually go ahead and calculate by endpoints, engineers that you've got, etc.
Very
So
cool.
we want to be able to give you all of that information. You can then further go on and configure each of these if you wanted to. So adding in engineering time, etc. We want to be able to give you guys all of that information so you can make that educated decision yourselves and see how much time you could be saving.
Makes a lot of sense. In terms of contractual status and things, what does it look like to sign up to be a Pia partner? What sort of contracts do you expect people to sign? Is it month to month? Is it annual? Is it further?
12 months generally
12 months,
is the route we tend to go down. We have 3 years if people are interested in. I know we do a lovely deal on a 3-year, as everyone does. But it's going to be 12 months is what I see most people. We normally do an X month break clause. I believe it's 3. Please don't ever quote me on that, but I believe it's 3. And that's obviously during the onboarding process. Now it's probably worth I'm sure your next question was probably, how does onboarding work?
It was going to be. Well, I was going to ask, onboarding, is there a cost to become a partner as well? What does that look like?
So there is an onboarding kind of cost that goes with it, but it's essentially normally rolled in. So it's not normally a huge kind of problem there. And obviously it's per agent, endpoint, billed monthly, that kind of stuff. Same with most vendors that are out there as well. Now, onboarding, very simple, very straightforward. You get paired with a PSM and you get paired with a technician. Now we have, or an onboarding technician. So we have onboarding technicians in each region who are more than happy to be able to help out with essentially going ahead and getting you guys set up. Now, what they will essentially be doing is spinning up the environment, ensuring it's set up correctly, you have the right automations, and then spending time with you guys, ensuring that you are fully trained on the solution so that you can hit the ground running. Now, it takes, the quickest we've done an onboarding is 1 week. And that was with, I think we generally do about 2 or 3 hours of calls. The average time it takes has been between 2 and 3 weeks.
Right.
So if you want to be up and running tomorrow, we can do it in a week or less than a week. But that is going to be tight. We like to be very honest with that. So you're looking on average about 2 to 3 weeks to go through that onboarding process. From there, you're then going to be working with your PSM, and your PSM is going to be your kind of primary contact point. If you have any problems, hey, this isn't doing what we want it to, they'll go ahead and get it raised. And obviously, you'll always have the contact details of your onboarding engineer. They're always more than happy to jump on a call with you.
Got it. For anybody watching this and thinking that they want to dip their toe in the water, I'm going to guess, given the nature of the product, there's not a free trial available. But what does it look like if they wanted to, to test the product out a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So at that point in time, we have that break clause. So yeah, there isn't necessarily, just because, again, the nature of it, a free trial. But yeah, by all means, you can sign up, go ahead, test it on X amount of customers, test it on your whole site if you wanted to. And then if you're not happy with the results, exercise that break clause, get on out. So we do give you that option as well. We want to be able to make sure that we're as fair as kind of can be there.
Yeah. And what type of MSPs, what type of IT support companies are you seeing adopting this product? Is there a sweet spot for how mature they are, or how many engineers they've got, or how many endpoints they've got? What type of MSPs use it?
Sure. So I mean, from an endpoint perspective, we see a wide range. We have we have a couple who are on, say, 50,000 endpoints. We've got a couple who are closer to 10. The primary focus, I would say, we're looking at roughly, we scale quite well across the board. If I was to look at the numbers or the stats of the MSPs we've got, we're probably looking at somewhere between 800 endpoints and 3,000. Those are kind of our sweet spot, somewhere in there. Where we see most MSPs. Now, it's probably because most MSPs are around that size, somewhere in there as well. But that's where most of the MSPs that we're working with are. But we have some very, very large ones, and we also have some couple hundred endpoints as well. We do not discriminate based on endpoints.
So here's what I think is an interesting question. So we've talked about the product itself. We talked about how it helps clients. But when it comes to attracting new clients, MSPs are notoriously bad at the sort of a marketing piece. I can see obvious advantages of differentiating yourself from competitors by using a tool like Pia. But how do Pia help MSPs to communicate all of this wonderful goodness to their end clients and to their prospective new customers. Can you help them with that marketing piece?
Yeah, of course. So we have a brilliant marketing team. They're more than happy to be able to help with any of this kind of thing. If you let us know, feedback, again, part of where I jump in, where is it you're struggling? You want to be able to go ahead and push this to customers. And obviously, Pia is a really tricky tool in that perspective, because it's not necessarily something that the customer sees right away.
Absolutely not. It's invisible to them. Yeah.
It is something that makes an immediate impact on them as well. So it's this kind of like floating thing that exists that kind of doesn't exist at the same time. But we are more than happy to be able to help build out content, whether it's, you want to market yourselves in an MSP that is AI first in solving tickets to ensure that there's a faster customer satisfaction or better customer satisfaction. We're always more than happy to be able to create that kind of thing. Again, it's a reach out to myself or our marketing team, and definitely more than happy to help.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you've already showed us the dashboard where we can look at the adoption rate and things like that. Is there any other reporting features available that MSPs might be intrigued with?
So that's probably where we store most of our reporting. Now, we can pull extra reports in the background should people be interested in that kind of thing, top used packages, etc., that kind of stuff. So we also do store that, and we can pull that out should MSPs ever be interested in that. I think it's worth noting this adoption focus that we've got on the screen here, that we showed earlier as well. We're continually adding to this. So this essentially came out, I believe, at the start of the year. It was about a third of the size it is now, and we're continually adding more and more. We did an update to this about a month ago now, and we added more and more features. We're not done yet. We're going to be continually changing this to ensure that MSPs are getting the best reporting they can to understand the solution.
Yeah, and this is a rapidly moving marketplace, and you've got a rapidly being updated product here. The very nature of these videos that we do, Ben, it's going to be point in time. If we look at this in, say, 6 weeks' time, there's going to be new features added in here. But it's important to do these videos because you can always put off until tomorrow the benefits that you can get today. So I think this video is still important from that perspective. So yeah.
Exactly. Like, I think, from a future standpoint, we're working on where it is that we can go in the future with the product. We have a roadmap. Obviously, we're happy to discuss that on calls should people be interested in hearing a bit more about where we are working on integrations, automations, etc. But I think it's probably worth noting a key piece of the solution that we're working towards at this minute in time is going to be something we call full automation.
Okay.
So right now, I would argue what we have is engineer-led. Engineer clicks a button, Pia does the hard work for them, they can get started on the next thing. Where we're starting to look at, and we've actually done some proof of concepts internally, and it has worked, is a ticket comes in and Pia automatically solves that problem.
Wow. Okay, very cool.
Now that's really, really cool. Full disclosure, it's not ready yet. We're very honest with that, and that's what I'm trying to have with Pia from the ground up, is we want to be as transparent as possible. This is where we're heading. It's not there yet. It took a lot of config, and we don't want to have a solution where there's an insane amount of config that has to go on in the background. We want to make it as simple as possible for MSPs.
Understood, yeah.
But that is the route we want to head down, where we can start to automatically solve specific tickets. It's not going to be every ticket. You're not going to go ahead and more than likely want to automate a new user creation or a password reset, because there's probably going to be checks that you want to put in, unless we can automate those checks, which would be really, really cool. But there are going to be certain tickets that you would like to fully automate. Add a printer, for example, troubleshoot something, clear up a bit of space on my machine. Those kind of things, those are the kind of things that we could go ahead and fully automate, which would be really, 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 really cool there.
It is exciting to see where this product is going to go. I guess as we come towards the end of our time, are there any aspects of the product that you're itching to show us that you haven't? There's so much we could look at, but is there anything very important that we've missed out to this point?
The final piece, and actually just a really simple one I touched on earlier, is actually the software deployment.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
It's a really simple piece, and it's nowhere near as interesting as anyone actually thinks it is. But I think it's really, really cool from a user standpoint. What you have at this minute in time is a ticket comes in. Let's say I want to go ahead and deploy some software. Well, technician then has to go ahead and jump out of the PSA, jump into the RMM, either download a component, go ahead and set up add an exe into there, upload it, go ahead, create a job, push that job off to the computer. It takes time, then find out the job has been delayed because there's something else going on. It's all a pain. Well, we have an automation created, which is just software deployment. So as soon as it says, I want to deploy XYZ software, it's going to pop up. It's going to say, hey, you want to install some software? So long as that software is in this software section here, you can go ahead and do that. Now, the main question comes of, how do I add that software? Well, there's two ways. Winget, which is a package manager. You can go ahead and just type in the software. So I use Discord a lot. Go ahead, type in Discord. Here's a load of the Discord software. So you can go ahead, click on download definition. That's now going to be added there. And that can now be deployed onto any machine that you want it to. Or manual upload. Maybe you have some custom software you've created,
right,
or old versions of software. You can upload that here. In that automation, it's going to pop up and say, what software do you want to deploy? Get on the lovely list, click on it, and it will go ahead and deploy that software, install it onto that local machine.
Yeah.
So we've got some very much, I would say, RMM-like capabilities here. I'd like to be very clear. We're not trying to replace RMMs. Not yet. Maybe one day, who knows? But at this point, we have some pretty nice RMM capabilities in it.
That is very cool. This is such an exciting part of the managed service industry to see what we can do. You know, I've been in this industry for a long time. I've often dreamed of, okay, we should be able to have automation for some of the pieces you've talked about. We're finally getting to that point now. So thanks, Ben, so much for taking the time to show us around this product. I guess if anybody wants to find out more about Pia, if anybody wants to continue the conversation with you directly, where's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Awesome. Yeah. So ben.jenkins@Pia.ai is probably the easiest way, or I'm on LinkedIn. Ben Jenkins, Pia. I'm there. So yeah, feel free to ping me a message. I'm normally online on LinkedIn, so just ping me a message. I'm more than happy to jump in and have a chat.
Fantastic. And I take a certain degree of pride in shining a light on some of the most exciting software, some of the most innovative software and solutions for MSPs on this show. So Ben, Pia definitely fits into that category. One to watch, one to take a look at right now, I would say, and one to watch as it grows even further in the future. But thank you for your time today, my friend. I appreciate it.